all around the world, people were laying fibre networks. We knew it could be done. We just had to have a group of people who were committed to it. There were a lot of people who said it wasn't going to work, particularly the other telcos.
It was a bit of a challenge, really, and I guess it was just based on a lot to do with the lessons you learn in the army. You get out there and back yourself, and get some guys that you trust there, and you just go and do your job, and you know they're going to do their job.
When I was first married and working for the post office, actually, the wages were not good. They're much better now, I hear, but they weren't good back then. Many moments of doubt, and I think that's good in a way. It makes you think about. Are you going in the right direction? Maybe you need to adjust. So I actually took a secondary job cleaning for the government. That made me understand that no matter how hard it is, you can actually get there.
You have to have a fundamental belief in what you're doing, that this service makes sense, that this is worth something to people. If you believe that, that carries you a long way.
I'm very, very hyperactive, got a lot of energy, got a lot of passion, and I'm always optimistic. And if you've got that optimism, you can break through some of those kind of barriers that you start to see.
But I always go back to that and think, okay, well, when it's down, when I'm in trouble, when I think, oh, where are we going, what are we doing? Always draw back to that and say, okay, we'll just truck on, find a way.
There's always the worry about can they cut their prices so much that they take you out of business. We said we could make bloody good money by charging 30% of what the telcos were then charging, and that we could survive down to 20%. Now, we didn't believe that the telcos were about to go and drop their prices 80% just because we'd turned up.
There will be times where I'm doubting myself, where I'm questioning, I've had a knockback and someone said, look, no, you can't do that. And often you find when you're starting something up or you're involved in an early stage project, there are a lot of people that like to say no, because that gives them some power. They can say no to something. It's very easy to say no, it's somewhat harder to say yes.
When I left Telstra and we started World Exchange as a subsidiary before we bought it, I went round and hired the guys I used to serve with in the Army. So I had 5 guys that were in my unit in the Army, ended up working for me for World Exchange.
It did occur to me that there was a risk of failure, no question about it. You had the customers out there saying, we want this. You had the telco saying, oh no, it's impossible, you can't do it, it's too expensive, and we've got all these problems. And I went with the customer's view.
And that's where resilience is probably a key part of being a leader in any size business. It's knowing that this is what I'm going after. I'm going to a dozen times or more I'm going to get a no, a no, a no. And you've got to, why is he saying no? Why? How can I work around that? Is there a different way of doing it to get to the end goal that you're aiming for?
Sometimes there's some gambles, there's some bets there that you have to make that you don't know on the front end whether that's the right bet. For us, going into postpaid, for us going into things that require a significant capital investment before you know whether there's going to be enough of that customer base here in New Zealand, those are some big bets we have to make. But I guess having had the experience in other parts of the world, you get a sense that it's wanted, people want it, it's needed, there's value there, and if you deliver it in the right way, it's going to work.
You have to plan for things to go wrong. You have to be ready. Nothing will be perfect first time round, and if it is, that's good, that's great, we can walk away, have a beer. But most of the time, things will go wrong. You have to have people that are really willing to make sure they put it right, that they have the resources or the capability to think on their feet. Give them the empowerment to actually do something, So if it starts to go wrong, they can step up and say, this is not right, what do we do about it? Not walk away from it or hide it.
Part of it was self-preservation, but part of it was also the fact that we'd already put together a pretty decent team of guys. We had about 25 staff at the time, and we had a good chat amongst ourselves and said we decided to back ourselves. So we went forward from there.
Being open and being able and willing to make quick decisions and make effective decisions, because some of these shifts that have occurred in the industry really requires a whole new way of doing business.